making headlines across the country, from the political scene all the way to matter sports. And also later on, we'll be having our conversation. What are we focusing on? Well, we are focusing on the national dialogue. We do understand two sides of the political divide. That is the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio side. We'll be having fresh talks facilitated by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. Will be getting into the details of those particular talks and what they intend to, solve as far as the disconnect between the government and the opposition is concerned. We do understand that both sides have their own demands. So which one? There are six, or rather, which one will be working for the benefit of you as a Kenyan, and whether these talks are going to amount to anything in the long run. I'll be speaking to Robin Karani, who is a political analyst. I'll also be speaking to Mary Ariviza, who is a politician here in the city. And also I'll be speaking to Kabila La Vijana President Japheth Ombui. Start engaging us on our socials. Satamoy Brian on Twitter at Lookuptv. The hashtag we're using tonight is the bottom line KE. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube. So be sure to send your feedback on those particular social platforms, and I'll be able to engage you, or rather read them in the course of this particular program. A sign language interpreter tonight is Josephine Ouko. But first, these are the top stories tonight.
The moment I know more than you in your ministry, then you must begin to understand that something is very wrong.
On the bottom line tonight, it will be business as usual, says President William Ruto, as he warns public servants who abuse public resources. 2 people die, 10 injured and others missing after terror attack on travelers along Lamu-Garsen Highway. And various CBC changes proposed by the Presidential Working Party of Education Reforms 10 months on. All right, and just a reminder that you can be part of the program by engaging us on our socials. Satamoy Brian on Twitter at Lookuptv. The hashtag we are using tonight is the bottom line KE. Tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about the stories that we are running today, and also the conversation that we'll be having later on. Let's start this bulletin. Now, President William Ruto has come out to stress on the need to tame corruption in government, sounding a warning to his cabinet. Now, the president said he will protect public resources with zeal, noting that it will not be business as usual.
Holders of independent office.
President William Ruto has sounded a warning to members of his cabinet who will be found guilty of corruption. The head of state regretted that it has become fashionable for some people to work in public offices to steal.
Because of our long history of white elephant projects and corruption scandals, some see these commitments as vendor-driven kickback rackets, disguised conspiracies to embezzle public funds. They think it's an opportunity for them to go and steal public money. I want to tell you in broad daylight, eyeball to eyeball, that will not happen. Please, good people. Yes.
Your Excellency, we have done so much as an administration, but the information is not out there. Our ministers are quiet. They are called for TV interviews, they don't show up to say what they have done. And then the media have a field day because nobody talks for government. I would rather we spend more time explaining to the people of Kenya what we have done in our respective dockets as opposed to travel.
The president insisted that corruption must be tamed, especially in the procurement space, maintaining that there will be no money to steal but to deliver government programs.
Please, good people. Yes. I have had a heart-to-heart discussion with my cabinet. I want to do the same with the rest of the government bureaucracy, from PSS down to directors. It will not be business as usual. I made a commitment to the people of Kenya that there will be no money to steal. There is only money to deliver on the programs, on the projects, on the aspirations of the people of Kenya.
Speaking during the signing of the 2023-2024 ministerial performance contracts, President William Ruto explained that the government had resolved to enhance its performance by incorporating the actualization of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda into the performance contracting. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi. All right, now President William Ruto has issued a stern warning to men and women in his cabinet that he will not tolerate laxity and a display of lack of seriousness in performance of duty. The warning came as some of the cabinet members arrived late for the event where public servants were to sign a performance contract agreement. Now, the head of state was categorical that he was not going to entertain dismal delivery of services as he demanded a detailed report from a section of the cabinet on why they were late. Henry Tende now reports.
11 months after he was sworn in as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, President William Ruto is aware of the expectations Kenyans have in his leadership on the backdrop of his numerous pre-election promises. The head of state, who was here to oversee the signing of performance contracts by his cabinet, was angered after a section of his cabinet arrived late for the event. Sources say among those that came late include Security CS Kithure Kindiki and Trade CS Moses Kuria.
I don't know whether it is because these performance contracts have been going on for 20 years that many people maybe mistakenly think that it is a ritual. And that is why people resort to the old incompetent excuses that there was traffic for them not to be in a public, the most important public function. We have a job because we have a contract. If you cannot keep time with your employer, you have basically dismissed yourself.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua echoed President's warning, demanding high level of accountability from the cabinet to help President Ruto push through his agenda.
Nimeona watu wale wamechelewa, nikaona rais unaniona ninamjua. Nikaona uso yake nikajua hapa kimeumana. Sababu leo ni siku ya performance contract. Ile siku muhimu sana ya kuja kuweka. Na wewe umefika pale, rais amekaa. Tayari amekaa na ndiye rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Wewe umechelewa ukiwa kuona nani? Who else have you gone to see? These are things myself I don't understand. As I said, mimi sielewi. Mimi mambo ingine sielewi. So mimi boss nachunga kazi yangu. Unajua rais, tangu uniteue, I've been late in your meeting one day only. Na rais, wewe ndio ulinichanganya siku hiyo. Because ulisema utatoka hapa saa 1:30 tukutane airport saa 2, ukatoka saa 12:30.
For those who came late, who are members of the executive, I will be expecting a written explanation, and it should not include matters of traffic, on why they do not take these performance contracts seriously. Because if you do not take this performance contracting seriously, it means we do not take the contract with the people of Kenya on performance seriously.
The head of state says the time has come for the cabinet to remain steadfast in delivery of services to arrest the deteriorating economy and ensure Kenyans enjoy a revamped economy. This, he remains convinced, his team will deliver. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Now, the task force appointed by President William Ruto to look into education reforms in the country, led by Professor Raphael Munava, now recommends the reduction in the number of subjects in schools. And as Ian Kitani now reports, the chair of the task force has recommended the formation of a committee to oversee the implementation of the recommendations.
7 months after a task force to look into education reforms was formed, the Working Party today presented its report to President William Ruto. The task force highlighted various recommendations, top among them reduction in the number of subjects in lower and upper primary schools, a new financial system to fund students in universities and TVETs. The task force also recommended the implementation of the reviewed capitation to schools in the CBC curriculum. The Munava-led team also recommended the recategorization of secondary schools based on career paths, as well as development of NEC and its capacity to print national assessments. While presenting the report, Professor Raphael Munava, the chairperson of the task force, recommended the formation of a committee to spearhead the implementation of the recommendations.
I think it is very important to have an advisory committee, a Ministry of Education Reform Implementation, Education Reform Implementation Advisory Committee. And that committee should monitor and evaluate how the recommendations are being implemented.
President William Ruto, while congratulating the task force, made clear his commitment to implement the recommendation, with 29% of this year's budget allocated to the education sector.
30%, 29-point-something% of our budget this year is going to education. 628 billion shillings is going to education. And we made it deliberate because we needed to sort out many things. We needed to sort out the pupil-teacher ratio, student-teacher ratio.
With the report recommending a new funding model to universities, Ruto reiterated his quest to ensure equality months after he proposed a new model to fund university students.
We will provide the resources to make sure that the funding model that we launched the other day for both our TVETs, colleges, and also universities is fully implemented. I have made a commitment because it is the only resource that we have and we are sure about.
Days after the High Court affirmed the school feeding program, President Ruto promised to work with counties that will implement similar programs.
And I am very happy that we have provided resources to increase our students under the school feeding program so that students can go to school and find a meal. Any county that's going to agree to partner with us for every shilling they put in the school feeding program, we are going to match it.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
All right, now thank you, Ian Kitani, for that particular report. Moving on, parents and students who are affected by the botched Finland study program in Uasin Gishu County have today taken to the streets to protest in a bid to pressure the county government to refund money they had paid under the scheme. And as Juliet Chepkoech now reports, the parents have denied reports by county government claiming that it had refunded the money to affected parents.
A day after reports emerged that the Uasin Gishu County government had refunded about 68 million shillings to the affected parents in the botched Finland education program, parents took to the streets claiming that they had not received any money from the county government.
Wale maneno ambayo Parorot na Mandago na Governor Chelili walisema ni uongo kwa sababu hakuna pesa yoyote ambayo sisi tumepata. Mimi kama mwanafunzi I haven't received any refund at all. Ya pili ni kwamba every time anasema kwamba I will meet the parents and students. Personally, nilienda hapo 3 times. Because tunaenda kwa ofisi yake. Anaandika majina kwa wale watu ambao wanaingia ndani. Yeye anakukalisha hapo, unakaa hapo the whole day, huwezi kutana na yeye. So he has been saying that he is going to meet the parents and students and yet he cannot allow you to enter his office. Yeah. Every now and then wakienda kwa press wanasema kwamba they were dealing with only with the program. But the money was being handled by the trustees. But initially, look at this advert. In the advert, ya 24 mwezi wa 9 2021. Na the Republic of Kenya County Government of Uasin Gishu. Ni wao ndio advertise wakarecruit wanafunzi and they were organizing for the all program. Even the trustees are people, the public servants who are working under the county government of Mandago.
Despite the police trying to stop protests, the parents together with the students disobeyed the order and proceeded to the office of the county commissioner and that of the governor while threatening to disrupt the governor's conference set to be held in the town from the 15th of this month.
So kwa Jalilim, kwa sababu is being protected, I don't know who is protecting. Our president don't protect the goons and thieves. And ulisema kwa wakati ati uta spare anybody. We shall want to see if you are going to spare Mandago ama Jalilim. I want your money. No river, no devolution. Hatutaki kwanza, hatutaki kwenda Finland. Tumetosheka, tusitanganywe, pesa turudishwe. Tupaki nyumbani, tufanye kazi yetu hapa nyumbani. We shall not go anywhere.
Imekuwa ni hotbed paradise ya fraudsters. Ukitaka kuibiwa, Uasin Gishu is very open for you. Na wenye wanasaidia our fraudsters are leaders, of which to suspect majority of these fraudsters wengi wao ni leaders ambayo wametumia proxies. We are appealing to the county government, senator na governor, both of them on a sub county. Purpose yao ni moja, county wa refund pesa, or else mambo ya devolution Uasin Gishu is a no.
The process comes a few days after the county government promised to hold a meeting with the parents to find a solution to the conflict, with the former county governor Jackson Mandago denying any involvement in the scandal.
I have evidence that I'm involved. I was not indicted. I think you should ask, I was asked to present, because if you say I was involved, you must provide evidence. Again, you know, it is a choice of how we want to solve issues. First choice is a private company. And it had no agreement. Unlike this program, as a county, we never had any understanding with First Choice.
As the parents continue to cry for justice, the question still remains, who is to blame for the scandal that has left hundreds of students who were expected to travel to Finland for further studies and are now stranded not knowing what to do? Juliet Chepkwet, Lookuptv.
All right, time to take a short break here on The Bottom Line. Continue engaging us on our socials. At Amoy Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag is The Bottom Line. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube. So be sure to send your feedback on those particular social platforms. We'll be able to sample some of it as we continue with the program tonight. Just a reminder that we'll be having a conversation on the national dialogue tonight about the fresh talks between the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio team, and getting some insights on whether these talks are going to bear any fruits. All right, we take that break.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine.
Itakuwaje?
Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Malkia?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
Michezo na wachezaji, matukio na matokeo uwanjani. Tumejifunga kibwebwe kukuletea mbwembwe, si mazungumzo ya kusisimua. Ndiyo maana safu ya spoti ipo hapa kwa ajili yako. ZFC! Nami hapa nahodha Robert Chacha, si suisui, na kuandalia kipindi bomba cha safu ya spoti kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 7:30 ndani ya runinga nambari 1 ya michezo Lookuptv.
Do you see like Africa is growing, changing?
The side that I consider to be good is to see the hunger that the African people have for God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a genuine hunger that they have. Whenever they go into the church, the things of the kingdom, they go fully. We pray a lot compared to the other side, but they seem to be advancing more than us because of understanding. I always say 5 children in Canada equal 10 children in Africa. You can imagine having to cook, having to clean the house, having to wash the children, having to do everything without any help. And at the same time, you have a job. And at the same time, you're planting churches. At the same time, you're running after believers.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution, or a university? And you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158, or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Now, thank you so much for staying with us here on The Bottom Line. Moving on, the National Assembly has endorsed the report from the Departmental Committee on the The National Assembly has endorsed the report from the Departmental Committee on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption. Now, the 2-day meeting held in Dhaka during the annual general meeting. The House deliberation on the report by the Kenyan delegations calling on the president to intervene by cracking the whip on his close enemies.
It is in keeping with the practice of making minor amendments which do not merit the publication of separate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity you've given me.
I beg to move the motion that this House notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the Parliamentary Dialogue on United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, and the Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption annual general meeting held in Doha, Qatar. The world over, the cancer of corruption has been exponentially spread in developing countries with devastating socio-economic and governance consequences.
We will promote transparency and accountability. Honorable Speaker, it is in view of such desires that the National Assembly and the Senate, under this administration, were able to review our own standing orders to allow cabinet secretaries to appear before the House.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion that the House notes the report of this delegation. Mr. Speaker, in this country, the 2 biggest enemies we have are actually corruption and nepotism, that we often call tribalism.
Madam Speaker, many a times in this country, find that we struggle maybe a lot in vain in so many areas, because the more steps we make forward, you find that issues of corruption take us back double the steps.
Madam Speaker, corruption in every single government starts immediately the government is inaugurated. It starts by calling members who have been elected to parliamentary group meetings. And then they are told you are in government, the other people are in opposition.
I remember just after we came into parliament, the president came here and talked about how he's going to deal with corruption. But I was shocked to see that amongst the first people that he pardoned in the presidential pardon was someone who was convicted in a Kenyan court for being corrupt, and the president pardoned such a person.
As the president of this country, lead us against the fight against corruption, whether you call it state capture, whether we call it corruption. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Shakil. The debate on this motion is effectively concluded. Under 53.3, Standing Order 53.3, the question will be put the next day.
Now, away from that, the National Assembly Committee on Energy has today held a meeting with the independent power producers in the country regarding the escalating cost of electricity in the country after the return of the 16% VAT on fuel. Now, led by the chair Vincent Musyoka, the members asserted that the country is not ready to purchase expensive power when there are companies that can provide it at the cheaper prices. Now, residents of Wamunyiri area of Bungoma have been left in shock after a 40-year-old woman was found dead in her house. The woman is suspected to have been murdered by her husband, a local pastor at Victory Church, Bungoma.
A somber mood has engulfed Namunyiri village in Bungoma County after a mother of two was allegedly murdered by her husband, who was serving as the pastor of Victory Church in Bungoma. According to her fellow believers, the couple did not have any problems until the incident.
Tumeshtushwa sana na hili jambo ya kwamba ndugu yetu ambaye tumemfahamu kwa muda mrefu kumefika kiwango ya kwamba kuna jambo limesababisha anajikuta ya kwamba ameua mke wake, na mpaka sasa hivi kwa sababu utafiti ugali unaendelea, siwezi kusema sana mambo ya hayo.
Nia mshirika wake mmoja anaitwa Mungai, anaishi pale ng'ambo. Hiyo message ilikuwa inasema kwamba shetani amenisukuma, nimefanya dhambi, nimeua mama Esther, nimemweka pale kwa mtaro.
Police officers have since launched investigations into the matter as the suspect is detained at the Kipipiri police station in Nyandarua County at their home where he escaped to.
Tumpata kwa boma na tayari tuko na leads ya ni nani anashukiwa kwamba alitekeleza hicho kitendo, na kwa sababu bado tunachunguza, I will be a bit reluctant to diverge any further information on that. But as I've said, I'm confirming to you that there was that murder incident where a young lady lost her life in a very heinous way, and we are following some leads, and we hope to catch up with the culprits.
Police Commander Wilson Muraya has advised residents to learn negotiation techniques as one way to solve their problems in the family to prevent further disasters caused by conflicts.
Omba wananchi, mtu akiwa na shida, iwe ni ya ndoa, iwe ni ya kifamilia, tafuta njia mbadala ya kuitatua kuliko kuchukua uhai ya mtu.
Nushin Mungasia, Lookuptv.
Now, members of Ndimbithi Farmers Company in Naivasha have a reason to smile after the Environment and Lands Court reaffirmed their ownership of over 1,000 acres of land after 40 years. Now, former politician Benjamin Kipkulei had gone to the court seeking an injunction to stop the farmers claiming ownership.
As hundreds of farmers celebrate their affirmed land ownership, it was, however, a major blow to former powerful politician in Moi's government, Benjamin Kipkulei, who has been claiming the land. Kipkulei had gone to the court seeking an injunction to stop the farmers from interfering or using the vast land or claiming ownership. However, in her ruling, Judge Lynette Omolo dismissed the suit, noting that it lacked merit and that Kipkulei had failed to prove that he owned the land. According to Maela MCA Jen Wanjiru, area residents had undergone a lot of suffering as they waited for the court to determine the case.
Si tunasaliwa hapa, hata si tulikuwa tunauliza Kipkulei huyu iko namna gani? Ni mweupe au ni mweusi? Alikuwa hapana kujaga.
Hata hiyo shamba ilikuwa imewekwa fence.
ilikuwa imewekwa fence, sasa fence imetolewa, sasa shamba ni yetu, tumejishikia shamba, tumerudishiwa na Mungu na koti imeamua. Sasa tumeshukuru Mungu, sasa mtu sasa kama ni mbeleni hata singerara kwangu leo. Kwa sababu sasa ni kuongea hivyo, sasa ni kama kurusha mawe polisi. Na sasa ni furaha tele.
Elsewhere in Kilifi South, MP Ken Chonga has launched initiative forums of engaging students, parents and teachers to curb indiscipline cases that led to banning of schools. Speaking to the media in his office after distributing 18 million bursary checks to 3,000 students drawn from colleges and universities, Chonga said the unrest can only be controlled if parents and teachers change their approach of addressing students' outbursts. And residents in Segera Ward, Laikipia County, are happy after a well-wisher named Jess Danford constructed a health clinic that will cut the cost of traveling and paying for medical services in honor of her late friend who succumbed to cancer. Laikipia Deputy Governor Lou Ben Kamuri say the county targets to increase the health facilities from the current 92 to 150, adding that collaborations with such well-wishers will see the gap closed. Faith Bonareri, Lookuptv.
All right, we do take a short break here on the bottom line, but don't go too far because when we come back, we'll be looking at our conversation tonight, the national dialogue, trying to make sense of the political scene this week.
Michezo na wachezaji, matukio na matokeo uwanjani. Tumejifunga kibwebwe kukuletea mbwembwe. Si mazungumzo ya kusisimua. Ndiyo maana safu ya spoti ipo hapa kwa ajili yako. ZFC! Nami hapa nahodha Robert Chacha, sisuisui na kuandalia kipindi bomba cha safu ya spoti kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 7:30 ndani ya runinga nambari 1 ya michezo Lookuptv.